we are probably the most unlikely edtech company in the world. So it is actually a company which is over 100 years old and one of the oldest education companies in the UK. I clearly haven't been there 100 years, but I have been there 8. And I joined the company at the beginning of 2006 when we bought it as a private equity buy from Rupert Murdoch. And most people said, you have got to be mad. You just paid £200 million odd for a company that will be out of business in 5 years. Big old paper newspapers, it's all going to go online 50p. Good luck to you. Today it's a very different company. It is entirely digital in its focus. We still do print magazines, but actually most of our revenue is digital. It's also one of the biggest social networks in the world. How did that happen? From London, in the middle of a transition from print to digital. We are, the reason we're one of the biggest social networks in the world, we didn't really realise that. We started to look at what was bigger, and we found an annoying Chinese doctor's site, which we then took over. And we were really glad of that. But we've got about 3 million teachers on the site. They join at about 20,000 a week from an average of 150 countries. Now, we do not do marketing in 197 countries. They're finding it because they're looking for content. And I'll tell you a little bit about what they're doing. I'd love to tell you, like the previous speakers, that this was the result of some amazing vision that we had for the future of education, but actually it was pure luck. We were redesigning the business and making a desperate plan to become digital in a couple of years. And we noticed that we needed to put some content on the site. Nobody was reading the stuff that the journalists were writing, so we wanted to do something else. And we found that in the forums, teachers were talking to each other and saying, you know, I'm trying to get my year 10 boys interested in Romeo and Juliet. They really don't care, and has anyone got anything that can help me with that? And another teacher would say, oh, I've got something, I use it every year, it's absolutely brilliant, I'll send it to you. So we put up a simple platform which allowed teachers to trade their own content. It was a really clunky bit of tech and hard to use, and they used it anyway. And I'll show you the growth of that. By the way, it's free, so there are, we've said it will always be free to share your content. It's user-generated content. About 70% of it is user-generated. The rest is anybody who wants to put free content up for teachers in schools. So that includes the Khan Academy, that includes British Gas, that includes every museum and charity and everything. And when we started, we'd knock on people's doors and say, would you like to put some stuff on our site? And they'd go, no. And now we have a huge queue of people going, can we please put stuff on your site, because this is how you get to teachers. This shows the growth of that, of the downloading on the site, and you can see it's just been phenomenal. Now, around about here is when we started to run it properly. So we were busy running the bit that earns the most of the money in the business and said, actually, this is really interesting, and maybe we should take all our best managers and start putting them on this thing and see what they can do. And it started to have a huge impact in terms of not only the number of teachers joining, but using the content as well. So we went through 197 countries a couple of years back. What are they doing in North Korea on the site? I don't know. How come we've got people from Vatican City? We tell everyone the Pope uses the site. Absolutely not true. But that sort of massive growth clearly is viral in its essence. And for me, it's interesting, you know, producing free stuff and giving it away is all right, but it's not that much of a challenge. The next slide is the one I like best, because this is really about teachers sharing the IP of what they do in class. And this tells me that they're actually putting up their own stuff. And there's a real cultural leap they have to make. So we know that the teachers say, I love the stuff on the site, but mine isn't good enough. And then they share one thing, and they get enormous response from teachers across the world. And not just downloading them, but teachers saying thank you to each other. No one says thank you to teachers. Okay, it's the loneliest place in the world. And so when you get reams and reams of comments from teachers across the world saying, your little bit of lesson that you gave me transformed my lesson, my class was really interested, it really worked. It's so empowering for those teachers, and that's the real source of what they're doing. And you can see we're now up to about 675,000 resources on the bank. We don't run it. Clearly, we as an organisation wouldn't be able to understand or have competency to know what content you should be teaching in every subject, in every year, all over the world. We can't do that, but the teachers can. So how we run it is we take a subject lead, and that's a teacher. We pay that person. And we say, you look after that channel, and that channel can be secondary maths, for instance. And you go out to that community and get 15, 20 teachers who really want to help us, and they will manage that curriculum. So we are not doing that work, the community is. And it's an amazing way to run that sort of network, because of course, they go out, they make sure it's correct, they tag it to the right part of the taxonomy, they do all that stuff. But they also say, but we're missing a bit here, or the curriculum's changed. Or even, actually, it's all right, but we want the whole thing in video, so let's go and look at that. They email each other overnight and say, I've got a class tomorrow, it's really desperate, I can't find this particular piece. And another teacher from across the world will write it for them overnight and send it. So Monday, we had another one of our key milestones. We had 750,000 downloads from the site on Monday. First day of term, we're just going, what am I going to teach? And the next slide is really, well, why does it matter? And for me, Bev is why it matters. So Bev is our most downloaded teacher. And she is a special needs teacher from Wales. And she worked in a small school in Wales, and she was employed to teach a little girl with incredibly severe special needs. And Bev couldn't find the resources to teach her properly, so she built her own, like every teacher does, by the way. They all have that little drawer of stuff that they teach all the time. Bev has over 1,000 resources on the site. She now works for us, by the way, because she obviously knows what she's doing, and has been downloaded over 3.5 million times. So Bev teaches the world, and in numerous languages, in numerous cultures. She's a real superstar, and there's nowhere else that those teachers can have that sort of influence on that sort of sphere. So when you look at the numbers say that we're now up to 680,000 resources. So that's linking together 56 million teachers and students across the world. We went through our 3 millionth teacher a couple of weeks ago, who was a teacher from New Zealand. We now have sites, so we have the big TES global site, which covers the world, but we have localised sites for the US called Share My Lesson, and the Australian government came and knocked on our door and said, can you do one for us, because we've surveyed our teachers, and over a third of them are on your site. So we built one for Australia, and we have an office in Sydney. You can see the numbers, 9 resources a second downloading. We didn't do this, the teachers did this. And I think the difference with our company is we're totally teacher focused. So we believe that the edtech companies that say teachers don't get technology, they're wrong. They get technology, but they use it the way they want to use it. It's not that clever. I mean, it costs a lot of money, but actually what it is a big digital filing cabinet, and they all go in and they find it. I think that's it for me. Thank you.